happy little games. Hello everybody, and thanks for checking in as we take a look at some more 3DO games. For the most part, everybody seemed to enjoy my video on the 3DO, but I heard a lot of complaints that I left out some really good games. As I mentioned in the video, there were 263 officially released titles across all regions, so some games were going to get the shaft, and also get certain people's nipples in a twist, and not in a good way either. That's okay though, as it gives me a chance to go back and cover the ones that didn't get any lovin' the first time around. So let's go ahead and take a look at 10 more great games for the 3DO, and a few I wouldn't even wipe my butt with. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 3DO. Let's start our list off with a bang and take a look at Star Control 2. This is an action-adventure sci-fi extravaganza which is set in an open universe. The game initially released on MS-DOS in 1992, but got a massive upgrade when it was released in 1994 for the 3DO. Thanks to the massive CD-ROM storage available, the game now features full dialogue in the game. This is basically a space opera featuring real-time combat along with space travel and arcade-style combat. As the story goes, following a race war with the alien Urquan, the Alliance has lost. Their armada hunts down Alliance races and imprison them on their homeworld. It's up to you to convince other races throughout the galaxy to join you in your fight. As I mentioned, this is pretty much a space opera that relies heavily on plot-driven quest-based gameplay similar to adventure games or RPGs. The size of space is huge, which sometimes can take 5 minutes traveling from one side of the galaxy all the way to the other. Throughout the game, you can upgrade your fleets including combat efficiency, maneuverability, and speed. You also have to harvest raw materials from various planets. The spaceship battles are one-on-one and take place in real time. Each ship does have unique weapons and maneuvers. Winning a battle requires a combination of skill and the proper ship selection. Not only has the audio been upgraded, but the graphics have been as well, and they look fantastic on the 3DO. FIFA International Soccer was released for the 3DO in 1994. The game was also released for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, but the 3DO version was the one to beat. People at the time were describing it as the killer app graphic showhorse for the system. It featured enhanced graphics with multiple camera angles. The game was so popular for the system that it later served as a pack-in title for the Gold Star 3DO. The game offers 4 modes of play: Exhibition, Tournament, Playoffs, and League. The game also features 76 national teams, with each one having 20 players. If you were a football fan back in 1994, then this was as good as it was going to get. Return Fire is another excellent title for the 3DO. This is a vehicular shooter from a 3D bird's eye view in which the goal of the game is to capture the enemy flag and return it to your base. This is the spiritual successor to the 1987 game Firepower, which came out for a number of home computers. You take control of 4 different vehicles, including a Jeep, tank, missile launching vehicle, and a helicopter. There are 2 different ways to win the game, with the first one being to capture the flag and bring it back to your bunker. The second way to win is just to flat out destroy your enemy. This game also features local multiplayer and it's a lot of fun. The graphics are really good, but the sound effects and music deserve special mention as it includes classic music such as Ride of the Valkyries, Flight of the Bumblebees, and the William Tell Overture. It's little details like these that really add to the game. Check it out if you haven't already. Casper, the Friendly Ghost was released in 1996 and is based on the live-action movie. Growing up, I was always a fan of Richie Rich and Casper comics and really enjoyed the live-action CGI take on it. This is a puzzle-solving action-adventure game that features a top-down view with pre-rendered graphics. The plot revolves around Kerrigan Crittenden. She is a spoiled, rotten inheritor of Whipstaff Manor who also happens to be just a little bit of a hottie. She is after the treasure that is rumored to be buried inside the walls. Casper will have to enlist the help of Dr. James Harvey to aid him in his quest to stop the evil Kerrigan once and for all. Along with the puzzles you have to deduce, you also have to deal with your uncles Stretch, Stinky, and Fatso, who would love nothing more than to put the kibosh on Casper's efforts. The graphics are really good with some nice transparency effects when it comes to Casper and his uncles. It wasn't that big of a hit when it was released back in 1996, but if you enjoyed the movie and puzzle games, you should probably check this one out. The Horde really shouldn't work considering it's just a mishmash of games, but it does and it's a lot of fun. This is a hybrid action strategy video game that features full motion video sequences that starred a number of big name actors such as Kirk Cameron before he went crazy. You take on the role of Chauncey, a young serving lad who saves his monarch from choking on his dinner. You are rewarded with his magical sword, the Grimpwhacker, a village, and a mission to go and prosper, killing waves of hordelings in the process. As the game progresses, your skills get better at defending villagers, harvesting crops, taking care of cows, etc. Greater challenges are unlocked as your skills improve. The game is absolutely huge, with playtime taking somewhere between 4 and 5 hours to complete the game. The graphics are good aside from the cheesy full motion video, but the game is still fun to play. Another fantastic title is Flashback. Fans of Out of This World will feel right at home here, as this is another cinematic platform, shooting, and puzzle solving game. The player takes control of Conrad, who has lost his memory in the year 2142. After escaping hostile aliens, Conrad's bike crashes on an unknown planet. This is where the game starts, along with your quest for survival and the recovery of your lost identity. Although it looks similar to Out of This World, the gameplay relies more on exploration and platforming. You will spend a lot of time shooting bad guys with your gun. Certain enemies can be killed by simply blasting them to Kingdom Come, but others you'll need to strategize to get the job done. You do have a bullet shield, which does help. Also, you can take 4 hits before perishing. The game can get pretty difficult pretty fast, but thankfully there are plenty of save spots and checkpoints all throughout the game. The original versions of the game featured polygon cutscenes that looked really good. The 3DO version replaced these with rendered CGI cutscenes, and they don't look that great. They are poorly modeled and just don't fit in with the rest of the game. It also has extra load time that really wasn't needed. The gameplay is fantastic though, and the controls are nice and responsive. Primal Rage is another arcade conversion for the 3DO, but thankfully it turned out pretty good. This is a one-on-one fighting game that was originally developed by Atari Games for the arcades. The plot revolves around a post-apocalyptic version of Earth where players take control of one of 7 large creatures that battle each other to determine the planet's fate. The 7 creatures you encounter are Blizzard, who is a Yeti, Armadon, Talon, Sauron, Chaos, Vertigo, and Diablo. The game is a bloody affair, with each dinosaur having 3 different fatalities, although not quite as spectacular as the Mortal Kombat series. The graphics are fantastic, and it uses stop-motion animation for all of its playable characters instead of sprites or CGI. The game features a number of cool little details that make it stand out from the rest of the crowd, including your health bar, which is represented by an artery sticking out of a heart which beats faster and faster the more damage that you take, until it finally explodes into a big giant bloody mess. One of the more controversial moments of the game involves Chaos's fatality, in which he proceeds to relieve himself all over his opponent, turning them into a big smoldering pile of bones. I heard Mountain Dew was bad for you, so perhaps this is his beverage of choice. The controls feel just like the arcade game, with nice responsive times. At certain points it can get a little choppy, but overall everything from the arcade game that you know and love is here in its full, uncensored glory. It was definitely slim pickings when it came to the superhero genre, but at least we had Ultraman Powered. This is part 2D fighting game, part rail shooter, that was released only in Japan by Bandai. The game is based on the hero of Ultraman, the Ultimate Hero TV series that aired back in 1993. Let me just put my Captain Obvious hat on and let everyone know that this is indeed a Mortal Kombat clone. However, due to the low-budget blue screen that was used on the TV show, this actually sort of works here in the game. Other games, such as Way of the Warrior or Shadow, the characters look out of place, but in this instance they fit in perfectly. The fighting sections of the game take place across 8 different stages, each one represented by an episode from the TV series. There are plenty of clips from the TV show littered throughout the game, including the oh so catchy theme, which I can't play here for copyright purposes. The gameplay is fast and furious, and the animation is very fluid despite using digitized graphics. There are 8 different characters to play as in versus mode, and to be honest, I had a lot of fun playing through this game.
Shaq! 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 Shaq!
Twisted, the game show, was released for the 3DO in 1994. When Trip Hawkins enticed developers to be creative and not put any shackles on their creative impulses, I don't think he meant sniffing glue or dropping mushrooms, because that's what this game feels like. Or so I'm told. This is a party game that was released exclusively for the 3DO system and feels a lot like the game You Don't Know Jack, but only cranked up to 11. It's a game show that blends a lot of full motion video that really shouldn't work, but it absolutely does. Twink Fizdale is the host of the show, and he is just as wacky as his name would suggest. The goal of the game is to make it all the way to the top of the helix-shaped game board by rolling cyber die and playing 8 different mini-games. The first contestant to reach all the way to the top wins a trip to reality. Up to 4 people can play, and you have a total of 6 characters to choose from. Not only do you get the standard trivia game, but you also get other games such as Twin Peaks, Sound Bites, Zapper, and 5 others. The game is a lot of fun to play, especially with a group of people, and it still holds up today.
Good job, Humble Howard. You go again.
Killing Time is everything that the port of Doom should have been, except this game is really, really good. This is a first-person horror-themed shooter in which you take on the role of an ex-Egyptology student who is trapped within the estate of wealthy Harris Tess Conway. Back in 1932, Tess was using an ancient Egyptian water clock but vanished along with many of her friends. Your goal is to find and destroy the water clock, all the while killing everything in sight without going insane. The game has a number of standard weapons, including pistols, shotguns, Tommy guns, and flamethrowers, among others. Unlike Doom, the world is fairly open and you can explore areas in pretty much any order and also backtrack if necessary. The game uses a mixture of full motion video combined with traditional gameplay. Sometimes the full motion video characters will overlap into the actual gameplay without breaking into a cutscene, which is a nice little feature. Occasionally, spirits will appear and help to tell the story. They will also give advice on finding keys to unlock doorways, solve puzzles, etc. The graphics are excellent and the gameplay is smooth and fast. The ambiance at certain points is truly terrifying despite being a game that's almost 30 years old. If you haven't checked this game out and enjoy first-person shooters, you definitely should.
As in the West Wing, I'll have the maid make up your room. This is as far as we could drag it, sir. It wouldn't fit through any of the upstairs doors.
But Byron said it would fit. It's only 3 feet wide.
I believe he said 3 cubits wide, sir.
Crash and Burn only got a brief mention in my original 3DO video, so I need to talk about it a little bit more. This is a fantastic racing game with vehicle-mounted guns and rockets. There are two modes of play, a rally mode and a tournament mode. There are 30 tracks to race through with you bobbing and weaving while trying to stay alive, destroying every other contender on the track. You need to finish in the top 3 to advance. The more races you win, the more capital you'll raise to upgrade your car's firepower. You have your choice of 6 different vehicle and driver combinations, with some leaning towards firepower, speed, or balance. There are also pit stops available to replenish your weapons and repair any damage. One drawback though is that there is no multiplayer. The game was jaw-droppingly good back in 1993, especially for a home system, and it still holds up today. Another excellent game that I really enjoyed back in the day was Captain Quasar. This is a third-person science fiction action game that was released in 1996. You take control of Captain Quasar, a tongue-in-cheek version of Rambo who is defending the universe against various crime lords who were attempting to turn everyone into stone-cold zombies. The graphics are fantastic and the isometric viewpoint works really well. The action is fast and furious, but you have plenty of weapons at your disposal, such as grenades, flamethrowers, missiles, super guns, and more. Each button on the controller is assigned to a different weapon, which is very intuitive. Power-ups are also available throughout the various levels, including extra lives, continues, keys to unlock doors, and more. You could also enlist a second player to help you take out the wave upon wave of those evil alien jerks. Before each mission, you have the option of going to the armory and purchasing additional weapons and equipment. The tongue-in-cheek attitude mixed in with the high-octane gameplay makes it a funny and frenetic game that any action fan should play. We've seen the good on the 3DO, now let's talk about the bad and downright fugly. The first game on our list is a fighting game called Shadow: War of Succession. This is widely considered to be one of the worst fighting games on the system, but keep in mind there are still more 3DO titles to discuss. As the story goes, the leader of Shadow, which is the world's largest criminal organization, has been murdered. You have to fight your way to the top and become the next Shadow King. This is yet another Mortal Kombat clone which features digitized graphics and horrendous animation. All kidding aside, it looks to be maybe 2 to 3 frames of animation for each character. There are 8 characters to choose from with such unique names as Viper, Riggs, Anvil, and Sasha, among others. The actors must have learned martial arts from a book because they clearly don't know what the heck they are doing. They also appear to be suffering from a slight case of rigor mortis. As if the graphics and controls weren't bad enough, there is an option at the end of each round to perform a fatality. This might have helped the game in the long run, but the programmers did not put them in. The game is just absolutely tedious to play, and to be honest, I'd rather play with myself. If you want to talk about the epitome of full motion video games on the 3DO that absolutely nobody cared about, look no further than Dennis Miller's That's News to Me. I don't know how to brand this title. I suppose it's entertainment, but I for one was not entertained. Saturday Night Live alumni and Weekend Update host Dennis Miller is the star of the game, and if you were ever curious what he thought about events back in 1993, then this is the title you've been waiting for. What this title boils down to is Dennis Miller telling jokes about various events from the year 1993. Now don't get me wrong, I think Dennis Miller is hilarious and have always liked his snarky commentary on today's society with a little bit of cha-cha-cha thrown in for good measure. This, however, simply does not work. Now I've played some bad titles on the 3DO in my time, but this has to take the cake. I did crack a smile once or twice while playing, but similar to a newborn baby, it was probably just gas.
President Clinton and his cabinet left for Camp David today to conduct encounter-style sessions about how to trust, share, and learn. Later, Hillary plans to make pot brownies, and Bill will lead the group in a sing-along of Kumbaya.
Night Trap caused all sorts of controversy when it was first released back in 1992, and this version doesn't help matters. The game is exactly the same on the 3DO, except the video clips are much clearer. For those of you who don't know, Night Trap is an interactive movie that was initially released for the Sega CD. This is your typical full-motion video title in which you take on the role of a special agent who has to watch over teenage girls having a sleepover. Unbeknownst to the various chicks at the party, they are in grave danger. You watch live surveillance footage of the house and trigger various traps to capture anyone attempting to kidnap the girls. The quote-unquote game is tedious at best. It does feature Dana Plato, who is best known for playing Kimberly on the TV show Different Strokes. That doesn't matter though. I've seen better acting from my wife on our honeymoon. This was one of the games, along with Mortal Kombat, that was the subject of a 1993 U.S. Senate committee hearing on violent video games. This eventually led to the creation of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, or ESRB. I'm sure this game popped many a boner back in the day, but if I were you, I would just avoid it. Let's go ahead and take a look at Jurassic Park Interactive, which was supposed to be a pack-in title for the 3DO, but was delayed by 6 months. This is an action title that involves different minigames with various multimedia clips used throughout. The original cast of characters from the first movie make a cameo, but they were not able to acquire the actors' likenesses. So what we get are the bootleg dollar store ripoffs that bear just a passing resemblance. The actors they used for the adult parody Jurassic Wood looked so much better. Or so I'm told. The 3 primary minigames sees you driving a Jeep trying to get away from a T-Rex, a first-person shooter in the jungle, and another first-person game in which you are trying to avoid the raptors. There are 5 other short minigames that honestly looked out of date on my HP that I purchased back in 1993. They appear to have been cobbled together over the weekend after a 2-day bender. The graphics look really nice, especially for a 1994 title. This was the future of home video gaming, and every ounce of 3DO's muscle was up there on the screen. The game uses actual clips from the movie, including the music. The 3 primary games are fun and short, tiny little bursts, but they do tend to get repetitive pretty quick. The entire game can be beat in just under 45 minutes. Overall, counting the entire presentation, the game isn't too bad, but it could have been oh so much better. If you want to talk about hype for a video game, then look no further than Rise of the Robots. This was featured in just about every video game magazine back in the day. This is a one-on-one fighting game initially developed for the Amiga and DOS, but was later ported to just about every video game system under the sun. The game looks to be something extremely special, with the developers promising a high level of artificial intelligence that had never been seen before in a video game. The graphics were created with Autodesk 3D Studio software, and they look fantastic. As the story goes, you take control of the Eco 32-5 as he sets out to fight all the other robots in the plant until finally taking on the supervisor droid. You do have 6 attack buttons at your disposal, provided you have a 6-button pad. The problem comes in the gameplay. For example, you can't turn around, which, considering it's a fighting game, is something that might just be necessary. The graphics look really good, but the backgrounds are pure static with no animation at all. Also, the game can be beat by just doing the infamous jump kick on every opponent. So much for that advanced artificial intelligence. You also have under 10 moves at your disposal, and that includes the ability to block. The playability is terrible, with your player feeling like he is in quicksand. During story mode, you cannot choose which robot to play as. On a positive note, it does feature a music track by Brian May, who was the legendary guitarist from Queen. And there you have it, folks. The good, the bad, and the downright ugly of the 3DO. What other games did I miss? Good or bad, happy or sad, let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't checked out my original 3DO video, be sure and do so. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, if you wouldn't mind supporting me on Patreon, I would really appreciate it, so click the link below. Thanks everybody for watching.